John Wayne's fist connected with Frank Sinatra's jaw. The sound echoed through the penthouse suite. Frank stumbled backward, crashed into a table, and came up swinging. And Marlena Dietrich? She stood in the corner, sipped her champagne, and smiled. This was exactly what she wanted. November 1959. The Sands Hotel, Las Vegas. Frank Sinatra was throwing a private party in his penthouse. The Rat Pack was there. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., a few actresses, some high rollers, and Marlena Dietrich, the woman who'd driven men crazy for 30 years. Marlene was 58 years old, but still stunning. She had this ability to make any man feel like he was the only man in the world. She'd had affairs with everyone: directors, actors, politicians, married men, single men, powerful men. Marlene collected them like trophies. And right now, she was collecting Frank Sinatra and John Wayne. To understand what happened that night, you need to understand the relationship between Frank and Wayne. They tolerated each other. Barely. Wayne was conservative, Republican, old Hollywood. Frank was liberal, Democrat, new Hollywood. They disagreed on everything: politics, music, style. But they kept it professional. They'd gnawed at each other at parties. They'd exchanged pleasantries. They never became friends, but they weren't openly hostile until Marlena Dietrich came between them. Marlene had known both men for years. She'd worked with Wayne on several films in the 40s. She'd partied with Frank in the 50s. She'd probably slept with both of them at some point. Marlene didn't believe in monogamy. She believed in pleasure, excitement, and keeping her options open. In late 1959, Marlene decided she wanted both Frank and Wayne at the same time, not because she loved either of them, because she was bored and watching two alpha males fight over her sounded entertaining. So Marlene started playing games. She'd have dinner with Wayne, then meet Frank for drinks. She'd tell Wayne she wasn't seeing anyone else. She'd tell Frank the same lie. She'd drop hints to each of them that the other was trying to pursue her. She stirred the pot and waited for it to boil over. Wayne fell for it completely. He was a traditional man who believed in courtship, commitment, winning a woman's heart. He thought he and Marlene were building something real. He had no idea Frank was in the picture. Frank was more cynical. He knew Marlene's reputation. He knew she was probably playing games. But Frank didn't care. He wasn't looking for love. He'd had love with Ava and lost it. Now, he just wanted fun. And Marlene was definitely fun. The trouble started when Wayne came to Vegas on business. He was meeting with some producers about a new Western. He planned to surprise Marlene, take her to dinner, maybe propose. Yes, John Wayne was actually considering proposing to Marlena Dietrich. That's how thoroughly she played him. Wayne called the Sands and asked for Marlene's room. The front desk said Miss Dietrich was currently at a private party, Mr. Sinatra's penthouse suite. Wayne's blood pressure spiked. Sinatra? What the hell was Marlene doing at Sinatra's party? Wayne went straight to Frank's penthouse. He didn't call ahead. He didn't wait for an invitation. He just marched up to the suite and knocked on the door. Hard. Dean Martin answered. "Duke, what brings you here?" "I'm looking for Marlene." Dean's face fell. Duke, maybe this isn't the best time. Is she here or not?" Before Dean could answer, Wayne pushed past him into the suite. The party was in full swing. Music playing, people laughing, drinks flowing. And there, on the balcony, visible through the glass doors, were Frank and Marlene. They were close, very close. Frank's hand was on Marlene's waist. Marlene's hand was on Frank's chest. They were laughing about something. And as Wayne watched, Frank leaned in and kissed her. That's when John Wayne lost it. Wayne stormed through the party, people scattering out his way. He threw open the balcony doors. Frank and Marlene broke apart, startled. "Duke," Frank said, surprised. "I didn't know you were in town." "Get your hands off her," Wayne growled. Frank looked at Marlene, confused. Marlene just smiled that mysterious smile of hers. "John, darling, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" "What are you doing here?" "With him?" Frank stepped forward. "Hold on, Duke." I don't know what you think is happening, but Wayne's fist cut Frank off mid-sentence. The punch landed on Frank's jaw hard. Frank went down. The party stopped. Everyone turned to watch. Dean and Sammy rushed toward the balcony. But before they could intervene, Frank was back on his feet, and he was pissed. Frank tackled Wayne. They crashed into a table, sending glasses and bottles flying. They rolled across the floor, throwing wild punches. Wayne was bigger and stronger, but Frank was faster and meaner. Dean and Sammy tried to pull them apart. "Get off him, Frank!" Dean yelled. "Duke, calm down." But neither man was listening. This wasn't just about Marlene. This was years of tension, political disagreements, mutual dislike, all exploding in one violent moment. Wayne got on top of Frank and started choking him. Frank gasped for air, then drove his knee into Wayne's groin. Wayne groaned and rolled off. Frank scrambled to his feet, grabbed a whiskey bottle, and raised it like a weapon. Wayne reached into his jacket and pulled out a gun. The room went silent. Everyone froze. Wayne pointed the gun at Frank. "You and me, we're going to settle this right now." Frank dropped the bottle. His hands went up slowly. "Duke, put the gun down. This is crazy." "Crazy? You're messing with my girl." "Your girl?" Frank looked at Marlene. "She's not your girl. She's not anyone's girl." "Tell him, Marlene." Marlene, still standing exactly where she'd been the entire fight, took a long drag of her cigarette. "Gentlemen," she said calmly, "I'm flattered. Truly. But neither of you owns me." Wayne kept the gun pointed at Frank. "You told me we had something special." "We do, darling." Marlene smiled. "But I never said exclusive." Wayne's face went red. He looked at Marlene, then at Frank, then back at Marlene. Slowly, he lowered the gun. "You're not worth it," Wayne said to Frank. "Either of you." Wayne put the gun away, turned and walked out of the penthouse. The door slammed behind him. Nobody moved for a long moment. Then Frank turned to Marlene. "What the hell was that?" Marlene shrugged. "John always was a bit dramatic." "A bit dramatic?" "He pulled a gun on me." "Oh, please. He wasn't going to shoot you." Marlene, finish your champagne. "Now, where were we before we were interrupted?" Frank stared at her in disbelief. "You played us. Both of us. You told him you two were exclusive, didn't you?" Marlene smiled. "I may have implied certain things. You set this up. You wanted us to fight." Marlene walked closer to Frank. "I wanted to see which one of you wanted me more." She traced a finger down Frank's chest. "Congratulations, darling. You won." Frank pushed her hand away. "Get out." Marlene's smile faded. "What?" "I said get out. I don't play games like this. You could have gotten someone killed tonight. It was just a little excitement. It was manipulation." Frank pointed to the door. "Leave. Now." Marlene grabbed her purse, threw one last look at Frank, and left without another word. After she was gone, Dean handed Frank a fresh drink. "You okay, Pally?" Frank touched his jaw, wincing. "Yeah, I'm fine. That could have gone worse." Frank nodded. He sat down heavily on the couch. What a disaster. The next morning, Frank woke up to his phone ringing. It was his agent. "Frank, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" John Wayne called the studio. "He's refusing to work on any film that has you attached. He's also talking to his friends in the industry. You might have some trouble getting Western roles for a while." Frank laughed bitterly. "Of course he is. What happened between you two?" "Long story. Let's just say we had a disagreement over a woman. Must have been some woman." "Yeah, she was." Over the next few weeks, the story of the fight spread through Hollywood. Different versions circulated. Some said Wayne shot at Frank and missed. Some said Frank knocked Wayne out cold. Some said Marlene had bet money on who would win. The truth was simpler and sadder. Two grown men had let a woman manipulate them into violence. And that woman had enjoyed every second of it. Frank and Wayne never spoke again. They avoided each other at industry events. When they were both cast in films, one of them would drop out. Their mutual hatred became legendary in Hollywood. Marlene? She moved on to her next conquest within a week. She told friends that the fight was one of the most exciting nights of her life. Two of Hollywood's biggest legends fighting over me. How could I not enjoy that? Years later, in 1979, John Wayne was dying of cancer. He gave a final interview where he was asked about his regrets. The interviewer mentioned the fight with Sinatra. Do you regret that night? Wayne thought for a moment. I regret letting a woman come between professional respect. Frank and I were never friends, but we didn't need to be enemies. Marlene made us enemies because she thought it was fun. Did you ever talk to Frank about it? No. Too much pride on both sides. Wayne coughed, his illness evident. If I could do it over, I'd walk out when I saw them together. Save us both the embarrassment. Do you think Frank would say the same thing? Wayne smiled weakly. Probably, but neither of us is man enough to admit it. Frank Sinatra was asked about the fight in 1995. His answer was short. Wayne and I had a disagreement over a misunderstanding. It was a long time ago. I don't want to talk about it. But privately, Frank told friends something different. I should have seen what Marlene was doing. She was a puppet master, and Wayne and I were her puppets. We both looked like fools that night. But Wayne looked like a bigger fool because he actually loved her. I was just playing around. Did you feel bad about what happened? Frank shrugged. Yeah, I felt bad. Wayne was a good man, even if we disagreed on everything. He didn't deserve to be played like that. Neither of us did. But Marlene didn't care who she hurt. She just cared about being entertained. Marlene Dietrich died in 1992. Her obituaries mention her legendary film career, her status as a gay icon, her resistance work against the Nazis. None of them mention the night she set two Hollywood legends against each other for her own amusement. But the people who were there that night never forgot. Dean Martin told the story at parties for years. The night Duke Wayne pulled a gun on Frank over Marlene Dietrich. People always thought Dean was exaggerating. He wasn't. Sammy Davis Jr. mentioned it in his autobiography, though he changed the names to protect everyone involved. But people who knew the story recognized it immediately. And Frank? He kept a photo from that night. Not of Marlene, of the broken table, the shattered glasses, the evidence of the fight. On the back, he'd written one word, remember. Remember what? A friend once asked. Remember that beautiful women can make smart men do stupid things. Frank said, remember that jealousy is poison. Remember that some people enjoy chaos and will create it just for fun. Remember all of that before you let someone play you like a fool. That's the true story of the night John Wayne and Frank Sinatra almost killed each other over Marlene Dietrich. Two legends, one manipulator, one gun, one hell of a fight. John Wayne thought Marlene was his. Frank Sinatra thought she was fair game. Marlene Dietrich knew she belonged to no one and enjoyed watching them destroy each other. Wayne threw the first punch. Frank threw the last. And Marlene? She lit another cigarette and smiled. The fight lasted 3 minutes. The hatred lasted decades. And the story? It'll last forever. Because there's something darkly fascinating about watching two titans battle over a woman who never loved either of them.